Oh, Harmy, we're back. We made it. We're back in India. How are you feeling?
Yeah, not bad, not bad. We've been here 6 hours, so we had a little snooze. I mean, it's planes, trains, and automobiles here. I think I'm trying to work out. I think I'm here for 11 days, 3 different hotels, 3 different cricket venues, and 9 flights in them 11 days. So it's not straightforward. We can't get from Nagpur to Cuttack and Cuttack to Ahmedabad. We've got to go via, I think, Egypt in between. But it's not going to be straightforward, but we're going to bring you it all from out here. And we're in India. The sort of locals on the restaurants out, they've just had to shift the plates for us. Nothing's ever a problem. So no, it's great. It is great to be back in a series which I think after the T20. Well, I'm intriguing to see how England's game plan, or what England's game plan is for the longer format of the white ball game, because it hasn't really. I didn't think it worked that well in the T20s.
Okay, I just want to tell you that I first came to Nagpur in the 1990s, and this city is now completely unrecognisable. And every now and then you might just hear the noise of traffic, and it's not on the road anymore because they've got the highways and the metro above, and it's sort of mostly it's up and running and working, and the streets are so much less congested than they were in the 1990s, and they've got sewage now as well. Now listen, when we arrived, you said it 6 hours ago, one of the first people that I bumped into is an old friend of mine, Ryan Tendaskata, who's done a bit of work on talkSPORT of course as well, and he's now Gautam Gambhir's assistant coach, and he came over to me and said, "Is Harmy here?" And I said, "Yeah, of course he is. Why?" He said, "Didn't Harmy say in your preview of the T20 series he fancied England's chances?"
I did say it, and I did fancy England's chances. I really did. I looked at the Indian side and thought, yeah, own back garden, young, exciting players, all with it. But I looked down the England side and go, you know what, there's some experience in there. There's some good players in there. You look at the top. Salt's played a lot of cricket. Butler's played a lot of cricket, a hell of a lot of cricket. Livingston, they played a hell of a lot of cricket. Harry Brooks already played in the IPL. I'm missing somebody out there. Bethel's going to get his first taste. Wood, Archer, experienced bowlers. Rashid, probably one of the most experienced T20 bowlers going. So I think when you looked at it, the series on paper before, I was like, you know what? England have got a chance here, and England have really got a chance of upsetting India, putting pressure on Gautam Gambhir. It just hasn't happened, especially with a bat. Especially with the bat.
Do you know what, Harmy, though? How many, as the Aussies would say, how many of the England team are a lock? How many are locked in? How many are absolutely convinced? And how many would you say have still got a little bit of a question mark? So even a guy like Phil Salt, who scored T20 hundreds, is he, is he a lock?
Well, it depends who you talk to. This England cricket team it's so unique in such a way of their outlook of what a player has to do, what he needs to do to perform and stay in the team. Numbers don't really mean anything if that is something, which sounds ridiculous for international cricket. But if you know what I mean, it just seems as though it's harder to get out of this team than it is to get in it. What is a lock in this team? You look at some of the numbers. You look at the Test team. The Test match. Quite a few of the Test match batters average under 37.
Harry Brooks.
Test match cricket.
I know, but Harry Brooks a genius.
Yeah.
But his T20 record is modest. Mm-hmm. Jacob Bethel doesn't have a record in T20 cricket. Jamie Overton, is he convinced? Is he? He's a latecomer to the party. Do you know what I mean? It's. Yeah, there's a lot of talent, and I can understand why you were excited by them, but there's a lot of convincing to be done.
A hell of a lot of convincing to be done. I think there's been people talking about Joe Root coming back into the team and mentioning.
Us.
Yes. Yeah. I wouldn't go into a game without Joe Root's name on a team sheet, no matter what format you play for England, because I think he shows that on any given surface, in any given way, he'll find a way to score runs. Flat ones, he'll belt it. Ones that aren't flat, he'll make sure that he's relevant enough to make sure that he does his job for the team. And I don't think they all do that in one-day cricket. I think sometimes when you come up against a tough surface or a tough bowler, especially in spinning conditions and spinning friendlies, it's if I can't whack it out the park, well, I'll hit it up in the end, somebody else can have a go. And then all of a sudden you bowled out 400 or 100. This is the mentality and the way England have said they're going to play and they want to play. So I've got no problem with that. I look at this, you look at the 50 over side as well. Some experience in that. I mean, there are some, I talked to Gareth Batty when we did one of the one days and sitting talking to him. And you mentioned, especially the Surrey mob that aren't here, the likes of Jack. Is this England's best team? It is. It is by, from a personnel point of view.
Jakey Bethel's England's best team.
Yeah, the way England think, the way Rob Keith and Brendon Mccullum thinks, this is England's best team. They don't have. Some will argue that Sam Curran should be in it. Some will argue Will Jack should be in it. There's a hell of a lot of people out there who think and look at cricket differently to Rob Keith and to Brendon Mccullum. And I think what will happen is they'll be judged by the numbers and the series that they play. They're judged by they went to New Zealand and won. They went to Pakistan, struggled when the pitches turned. They've got a big summer coming up in red ball cricket against India and Australia. They've got a three-match ODI series against India now, which is very, very important, leading into a Champions Trophy. So they're going to be judged on what happens in the Champions Trophy against India in a Test match, against Australia in a Test match, because the T20s, when I wouldn't say India were in transition, but a lot of their big guns had moved aside, and they're looking forward to the next T20 competition and giving some experience to some of their younger players. Their younger players performed. Yes, it's in their own back garden. When England have come under pressure and had to think about finding a way of scoring runs, finding a way when it's difficult. For me, in red ball cricket and in white ball cricket, but in red ball cricket as well, I think that's where England really, really falls short. If we can't hit it for 6 or 4, we get out spectacularly. We are either absolutely brilliant, it's like watching Tottenham Hotspurs, absolutely brilliant, and I love Ange. I think he's one of my favourite Australians for talkSPORT fans. I love that man. I think his outlook in life's great, a little bit like what McCullum and Stokes is, but they've got no real plan B. If you can't hit it out of the ground for 6 or 4 and they can't get big runs, they either look absolutely brilliant or they fall like the day off a cliff like they have in the T20 series.
Well, let's end this section then with Jos Buttler confirming what you just said, because he has no intention of changing their approach.
No, we certainly won't change the way we want to play. We need to keep backing that, be even more committed, and we've had our moments actually in all the games, bar the first one probably, and today I think we had moments in Chennai and Pune, and obviously the game we won in Rajkot. And I think as we get more experience, more committed to the style we want to play, and the nuances of the game of how we're going to win those moments, and then go on to win the match and win series.
That's England captain Jos Buttler, and we'll talk more specifically about the ODI series and the Champions Trophy coming up. But as I said, confirmation that they're not going to change.
They're not going to change. But the thing that would not annoys me, but I think it would be more palatable is if they had players in there. And you're always a better player when you're not playing. And Joe Root's had a lot on his plate when it comes to carrying this batting unit. But I'm all well and good for having players who can hit the ball out of the ground. But you still have to have players who can find a way. England were very, very successful and won 2 top competitions. They won the 50 over World Cup and they won the T20 World Cup. And on both occasions, in the biggest stage possible, the surface wasn't the greatest. Ben Stokes produced an innings which was not all crash bang wallop, and he found a way to make sure his team were relevant in a position to win a game. And I think a couple of players in that unit, I think with the rest, would make it a nice balanced side.
And don't forget, every single ball live and exclusive on talkSPORT 2 and the Cricket YouTube channel. That's why we're here. All right, Harmy, let's talk specifically about the ODI series and what might be different. There's not much difference in England's team from the 50 over format to the T20 format. But interestingly, going back to Ryan Tendulkar, he confirmed that media speculation that Varun Chakravarti was only training with the Indian squad was nonsense. He's in it, and he's going to play, and they're going to play 3 spinners because I reckon that's England's Achilles heel.
Yeah, and I would. I would. You look at this series in what's happened and where we are in the world. You fast forward to the Champions Trophy, and England have got a decent group because they've got South Africa and Australia, who have got decent spinners and Maharaj and Zampa, but you've also got Afghanistan. And Afghanistan could be a challenge for England, the way England play spin, especially in this part of the world. So it's a good test for England, these 3 one-days. What's different, you've got Root in the middle to potentially hold things together, and as you've seen firsthand in the SA20, he's in good form on difficult pitches.
Thinking about 3 or 4, is that flexible?
I think he bats 3. I think he bats 3. I really do. I think you send him in first wicket down, unless.
So 8 for 2, 100 for 2, or 8 for 1, 100 for 1. He's coming in 3.
Yeah, I think I would, because I think he can play. He's Joe Root. He's the best player in the world. You can play all different types of innings. The only way I wouldn't send him in at number 3 is if you got an unbelievable power play. An unbelievable power play, and it's just going to all parts like England can do. Salt and Duck could get off to an absolute flyer, and all of a sudden you've got 3 overs left of the power play. You might promote Jamie Overton and give him a free hit, or probably not Jamie Overton, but you might just elevate the sort of free scorers. But even at that, I'd still back Joe to go in and bat the way he needs to bat for the length of time he does, to make sure that England have a position of strength. So we have a little bit more time when it comes to the batting, so the likes of Brook can hopefully go through the gears and not feel as though he's under pressure to score big and score quickly, especially when the pressure of the full house and the spin bowlers and the way the T20s have gone. Hopefully a little bit like Test match cricket, they can breathe a little bit. So it's going to be an intriguing series, because it's a good England side. It's a really, really strong England side, and I'm not going to go as strong as I did for the T20s, because obviously Rohit's there and Virat's there, and India are stronger from a more experienced point of view when it comes to the 50 over format than the T20s. But England have got a really good side out here. They've got a strong squad out here, and I just think if they're not going to play more calculated cricket. But I think if they're just a little bit more street smart and a little bit wiser, they'll have a chance. They do have a chance.
They play so little 50-over cricket domestically, and in fact internationally. I'll never forget, it was about 6 months ago, Ben Duckett saying that he'd forgotten how the rhythms of 50-over cricket were different to 20-over cricket. People forget that there are still times in 50-over cricket where you need to take time out of the game. You actually need, to have a couple of slow laps in sort of athletics terms. Like a 10,000 metre race or a 5,000 metre race, you'll put a couple of slow laps in and the field comes back together, and then somebody kicks off to the front. The rhythms are very, very, very different. And T20 cricket is obviously so explosive but rather than sort of having a rhythm for the power play and then going into the middle overs and then kicking on to the last 10 overs in a formulaic kind of way 50-over cricket used to be, it seems to me very different now. Like, you might have a couple of really quick laps in the middle overs.
Yeah, and that comes down to personnel, and I think that comes down to personnel in such a way where you identify periods in time in the games
and bowlers
that you're going against, where you can exploit the opposition. They might exploit you, where other players, I'm sure India look at the times when Adil Rashid's bowling, should we say. Maybe it's Jofra Archer's second spell coming into that middle period. Mark Wood, pace through the air and go, well, these are the times we just take a breath and then go again, like you say, the couple of slow laps. That was one of my biggest bugbears of the T20 series, is I thought we were one batter too light if we were going to play the way we played, because we were always going to lose wickets. And that means, Jamie Overton was going in and 14 overs gone. That's just too early in the game to come in. 12, 14 overs. 11 now. If you've got Jamie Overton walking in with 11 overs to go, that's not what you sent him in for. That's not what you've picked him in the team for. So for me, in that respect, you have to have a plan, a formula, and a way to get through 50 overs. And like you said before, does Joe Root go at 3? Does he go in at 4? He goes in at 3, but you also got to be flexible that situations identified in in moments, in time, in play, and be sort of fluid with that. I think that's where you have to buy yourself some time by good batting, smart decisions, and very, very good calculated execution. And I don't think we got that during the T20, and I think that's something we need to see better with the longer format of the game. So if Overton is going to play and he's going to bat at number 8, if Bethel is going to play and where he bats, all these have got to be game identified situations for England's game plan to get them in them positions to maximise their skill sets. Because of all of a sudden, if Jacob Bethel and Jamie Overton are going in with 25 overs to go, England ain't winning cricket matches. They're not, and it's not their fault. It's just give them a chance to fulfil their potential with their skill sets in the game situation, time of the game you need, and that comes from responsibility at the top to make sure the game's set up. That for me is what the great one-day players do. You look across the other side. I mean, Virat Kohli's played over 250 games. So has Rohit Sharma. These boys know how to play the one-day game. England's numbers are nowhere near that. They're dwarfed on that. But these are still probably our most experienced and our best white ball players. And that's why it's going to be a big test these 3 one-days. These 3 one-days going into the Champions Trophy.
We are sitting next to the pool, and it is sunset, so we should expect families to come and bring their kids for a swim. Okay, I feel like we should speak a little bit more about India. And to go back to Ryan Tendulkar as well, I told him that during the 5th game of the T20 series, I was just beginning my epic journey. So 48 hours to get here, so I couldn't watch it. So I was following it on CricBuzz or somewhere on the internet, and I said to him, "Did England bowl that poorly? I mean, Jofra Archer's gone for 35 in his 2 overs. Good comeback, by the way. 4 overs for 55. So, but I said, were they all bowling slot? Were they bowling hard length? I mean, and he said, Manners, that's a really English view, to be honest. He said, I understand. You look at it from England's point of view. But let me tell you something. He said, Jamie Overton's second ball, he's run in and bowled as close to the perfect Yorker as you could possibly hope to bowl at 140 k's an hour. He said, and Abhishek Sharma toe-ended it back over his head for 6. He said, it's hit the bottom of the bat like that.
It was brilliant. I loved watching it. It was like, as a bowler, at the Wankhede, as a bowler, you're just going,
fair enough.
I'm going here. I don't matter where I put it, I'm going. I literally could land it in the perfect spot, like Jamie Overton nearly did, and I'm going. You're bowling balls that waiting. If you identify an area as top of off stump, flying over backward point, flat batted for 4. The wicket just looked an absolute belter. I mean, it looked an absolute belter, and I think from the first over you were going, well, England are going to be chasing something with a 2 in front of it. And it's not going to be 2 in a little bit. It could be 2 in plenty. But
it's easy to say that England bowled poorly. No, and Tendo's point was, you know what? He said, if you analyse all of the deliveries, he said, I promise you, out of 120 balls, he said, I don't reckon that you'd find more than a dozen you could say that's a shocker. That's a really poor ball.
I think I thought England bowled well in that series. And I think in the games that we've praised England for either winning the game or hanging in there and giving themselves a chance towards the end, and India have had to work really hard to get over the line by 2 wickets or 3 wickets. I don't think the analysts would look and say, well, the games where we had a great day with the ball and the game where we've gone for 247, I don't think there's much difference between the two. It was flat, it's small, it flies through the air quickly. And fair play, Abhishek Sharma is hit. I mean, he had 39 balls.
39 balls.
Mean, when
7 4s, 13 6s, 135 off 54. Do you know what?
When somebody does that, you just go. As a bowler, when somebody does that, you just go, well played, man. You can't.
And they all did.
You can't not just go, well played, man. I mean, you're better than me today, because it doesn't matter where. And like you say, you get near the perfect slot and he toe ends it over the top of your head for 6. Many times in your career you go, yeah, it was your day today. I'll come back at you tomorrow, but your day today, well done. And unfortunately...
And well done to your bat sponsor for for getting
enough wood in the bottom of the bat to get me over the top. But look, I mean, that's It was breathtaking to watch. The atmosphere was phenomenal, and it's great to see. I mean, to come to this country and to watch cricket in this country. I had two friends who came over. I've not spoken to them since they've been here. It's the first time they've come to India. They've been to Australia. They've been to the Caribbean to play. So it'll be to watch. It'll be interesting to see what their ticket is. I think they were trying to stay for the 1 days. Obviously close to Mark Wood. And it'll be interesting to hear what their experiences of the Wankhede was like, because that is a ground. But when it's off, as a player, 120 balls as a player goes like that, because you just can't get a hold of your emotions. Everything's in fast forward, everything's deafening, and when the ball starts going around the park, your head's going to spin off.
All right, a couple of minutes to go. I've got a very, as you know, you weren't available to interview Tom Moffat, the CEO of the World Cricketers Association. So we're going to be hearing from him in part 3 and part 4. But Tendo did say, and I've got a nice special final word for you. But Tendo did say, don't let Harmy off the hook without giving us a prediction. So I'm going 2-1 India.
Yeah, I probably would go 2-1 India, but I could also see a 2-1 England. I think the grounds here, I think a lot of it comes off, a little bit of toss. If they get the toss right, if you chase, I would imagine all 3 games will be dominant by the team that chases here. So that way, if Joss can win 3 tosses and England chase 3 times, England might win. England could win 2-1. So I look at it and go, right, I'm going to back England. Right? I'll go again at Tendo. I'll go again at Tendo and go, right, even though India have got a huge amount of talent back in the side, and I'm not diminishing anything they had before. Virat Kohli's just walked past, Shubman Gill's sitting there, you've got Rohit Sharma coming back. They're A-lister, shall we say, they're superstars. A-list superstars are back. They're more experienced players. It's going to be tougher for England. But I'll back Joss's boys. I really will. I'll back them 2-1. If you're going to go 2-1 to India, I'll go 2-1 to England, but only because I think Joss is going to have to win 3 tosses.
We're coming to you from Nagpur, and we head off to Cuttack in a couple of days' time and finish the 3 ODIs, the 3rd ODI in Ahmedabad. Every ball live and exclusive on talkSPORT and the cricket on the
talkSPORT Cricket YouTube channel.
talkSPORT Cricket YouTube channel. Thanks, Harmy. It's been a long day. It's been a long 2 days, actually. We'll be bringing you something every day, so we look forward to having your company tomorrow and each of the next 10 days.